nostris celestia, quae habitat in Canterlot, sanctificetur nomen tuum fieri amicitia, in terra suict est imponivil. Amen. Online, the nature of faith and religion can be a controversial one. Flame wars, atheism versus theism debates, Christianity versus Islam versus Judaism versus Hinduism versus Donald Trump versus... you get my point. The internet is a complete hotbed of hot-headedness when it comes to matters of faith. If well-meaning or uplifting events and stories can be subjected to fire and brimstone, it is very likely that they will be. On that note of divisiveness, the Brony community very rarely ever dips its hooves into the waters of religious and philosophical discussion without at least wearing some veiled subtext and or euphemism in order to hide real religious and spiritual themes. We generally have our own fair share of controversy to deal with without religion being added into the mix. Which is honestly a shame, as religion and spirituality can do wonders for both world-building and characterization, giving realistic and simple motivations for characters and wonderful historical and cultural breathing room. For proof, one needs only observe novels like Dune or A Song of Ice and Fire, where the religious themes and aspects drive either the internal narratives of the characters or act as useful structures under which greater narrative elements can lay hidden. Those two stories are examples from so-called legitimate literature. But if I could give an example of a masterful example of religious themes in MLP fanfiction, it would have to be If Horses Had Gods by Ponky. A slice-of-life story, the synopsis behind If Horses Had Gods is deceptively simple. Twilight goes to each of her friends and asks the question, do you believe in God? And that's it. That is the entirety of the story. From there, a fascinating exploration into the logical and philosophical undertones inherent in belief systems, both religious and non-religious, is undertaken. No two characters approach the question the same way, and this leads to 8 equally compelling examinations into the philosophical and internal consequences of various spiritual orientations. The story is composed of 6 chapters, and each focuses on a different member of the main 6, as well as slightly covering the positions of Spike and Celestia. In a way, each chapter acts like a character study and, in my opinion, accurately portrays how each of Twilight's gang would probably approach the same question. What makes the story work even better is that besides the sheer diversity of opinions, there also exists a diversity in the explanation of those beliefs, relative to each character. What I mean by that is, Rainbow Dash has a very distinct and aggressive belief, but it might be difficult for both the reader and Twilight to understand her logic, not due to the author's lack of writing, but rather because Rainbow herself would not be very effective in explaining it. It's subtle, to be sure, and could easily be mistaken for poor writing, but it is appreciated. To contrast, Fluttershy's opinion is exceedingly methodical and well-versed, mostly owed to a slow and progressive delivery. Fluttershy leads Twilight to her answer rather than forces it down her throat. In that way, each conversation is distinct and has a different effect on our heroine. If I had to choose a favorite chapter, it would be Pinkie Pie's. Her chapter is the shortest, not even reaching 100 words, and yet for all of that brevity, Pinkie has perhaps the most in-character response to the question of divinity. If I had to state a particular problem that I had with the story overall, it would be that I desperately wish that Twilight had explored more opinions from more individuals, and the narrative even concludes with that possibility being left open. The story is, quite frankly, too short, barely reaching 7,000 words over 6 chapters. A few years back, I had the opportunity to speak with Ponky on a Brony podcast regarding his story, and he had actually been focusing his efforts on other works. While I do hope that he might one day come back to this narrative, I definitely recommend that you guys head over to his FimFiction page and give him some attention. You will not be disappointed. Well, that was my take on If Horses Had Gods. I'm sure that my comment section will be filled with religious discussion and Donald Trump supporters and haters going at it for my little mention of the Great Orange Troglodyte. I would ask that you all keep it simple, but let's be honest, I said so myself. Religion is meant to add complexity to a world, even our own. I'll see you all next time. I am the Brony Critic because every fandom needs a critic. If you have a work of the Brony fandom that you would like me to review, you can recommend it to me in the comment section down below. And also be sure to visit my Patreon page and website for